running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Happy FOMC Day, everybody. BigBeat looking great there with some sun behind you today.
Yeah, Miami. Look, I get it. It's going to be a crazy day today as we all wait for FMOC. I know you get to smile and laugh at me today, so I'm okay with that too. But look, today's Fed Watch Day, right? It's not to me. It's not about whether we're going to lower rates or purple tie because it's about both of those already. We already know that. But I think it's about what Powell is going to say in regards to the questions that he's going to be asked. We all know that his carefully worded, very crafted message is not going to change. Now we can take the algos and we can take the AIs and we can try to figure out what little words he's making differences and changes and try to pull out and extract the next level of all of this. But I don't think so. He's going to lower rates in the next meeting. He's not
Not
pressured
today,
by
right? You're saying,
politics.
I want to make sure, I do have Fed Watch. We talked about a little bit before we came
Yeah.
on. Pretty much a 95.6 prediction that it remains the same today. And that's actually moved down. It was 99
Hmm.
early this morning. So
Yeah.
someone's putting
Yep.
some last minute calls into the work.
Hey, nothing wrong with throwing a little dice roll at in case things do change.
Steve,
You
what I
know,
believe
we
the bigger takeaway is that June still has it 70% remaining the same, and it's not till July, which is what you just told me in the pre-market, you think is going to be the next cut.
Yeah, I mean, he is sticking to his guns. I don't like that he's sticking to his guns. I think the president is right. We do need to lower rates. Look, if you anybody that's got half a brain right now, and I'm not saying he's a very smart man, but you're not paying attention to what's going on around the world right now, right? I mean, you saw India, Pakistan. That's a problem. That's another issue. Ukraine, still an issue. Russia, still an issue. China,
Middle
still an
East
issue.
is
Trade,
still an
Middle
issue.
East.
Yeah, I mean I keep saying that's why I have been a little pessimistic on the market. I think that there is a lot of world strife right now that could cause issues, and continue
Yeah.
to cause issues. And we got to go right into it. Yesterday at the White House again, another embarrassment, right?
Yeah.
Again,
I'm
with Mark Carney sitting next to him saying, well, you 51st state, you get free military, and it'd be great. We strengthen the whole area. And Carney's like, we're not for sale. Oh, never say never. And Carney just sat there and said, never, 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 never.
right. And that's why Carney won, right? He won, he didn't win the landslide, but he won pretty big. Look, it's okay to talk big as is American extremism. I don't know. To me, it just seems a little too wacky to me. But to me, if you want to pay attention to what's going on in the markets, it's very simple. I would point to one place right now, and that's Los Angeles, California. That's the ports. Because the ports are empty. I was speaking to a friend of mine who he's a longshoreman in the port. He said they're playing basketball and poker right now. That's a bad, bad problem. While we're not
And
feeling
we've
it
been saying
now,
that, right? The boats are coming back empty. They made it clear. These boats are
yeah.
turning around and coming home with nothing in them.
Yeah, and it's a bad thing. And here's what's happening. You're seeing this right now where this front running of buying things, and I think you and I talked about this morning about how prices are already going up already. I don't think we're going to feel it in Q2. I think, and you heard from yesterday again from Michael Litt saying it's Q3, and I agree with him. It's Q3. We're going to get hit in Q3, and it's a little too late. There's no way of changing it now. So I understand why the president's going, okay, I can't fix Q3 right now, but I will definitely fix Christmas. Okay, dude. Well, you better fix it then because it's happening very fast now.
Yeah, I brought it up that I have a few friends that have children getting married, and bridal registries is where everyone's noticing it. That was the sort of the first thing is that people, because people look at price levels. I want to buy them something under $400, so they
Right.
do it, and they went up about 50%, and it wasn't one or two. I saw about 10 or 15 different people come back to me that are, that have bridal registries and, just saying the same thing, boom, 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 boom. So that's what caught me.
Yeah, I mean, Howard, for me, I went out and I know I wouldn't say I just did it. I mean, I had to go buy electronics before the next move here because look, people are gonna be. I'm waiting on the new phone, whether that's the iPhone or whether that's the new Samsung, right? I haven't decided, right? We talked about this, and for me, these 600,000 pallets of Apple iPhones coming over. Right now, you can go to Verizon and get four for one. Right? I
Right.
hope they only get but it's an old iPhone. It's a new phone.
Yeah, no, yeah, and it wasn't any better. As you
Right,
said, the least intelligent thing about Apple is their intelligence on
right,
that phone. The hope is that it moves from there. So,
right.
with that being said, Steve, you said I was going to make fun of you, and I'm not
Go
making fun of
ahead.
you, but I got to say it. You are Mr. Mouse, and for months you've been telling us all the reasons that Disney was set and why you buy
Yeah.
it under 100. I asked you going to earnings yesterday. You wavered, and they absolutely
Well, the
crushed.
question that you asked me is, would you buy it here?
Right.
Now, I've said this from over and over and over again that it's under 100. Anything under 100 is a Disney buy. Listen, I don't ever go against the mouse. I mean, channel checks right now tell you I live in Florida. I live like an hour and a
Yeah,
half from the
that's what I
place.
mean. You've been telling me you went down, the parks were packed, everything was going. You talked about all their advantages, and I get that streaming. Yes, it was also tough. I think yesterday was a bad day for all the streamers, and let's face it, Disney is streaming, right? That hotel
Right.
thing, because a
But
lot of
this,
good
but the new
research is
Star Wars
also so
show,
bad.
even though I fell asleep during all of it, um, is pretty powerful right now. It's explaining the story of how before Star Wars even started, how the War of Yavin happened. Now I don't want to go into it, but this is what Star Wars fans, and this is what Disney bought Star Wars franchise for, was to tell all these stories, and the only way to get that is through the streaming. So
Yeah,
guess what? Okay, and Kathleen Kennedy, who has been George Lucas's person forever, works for Disney. So
yeah.
all of a sudden you've
They
got that.
added
And
1.4 million subscribers. So, and they had projected the street had them projected to decline. So
yeah,
they
no, I
added
wouldn't. That's
1.4
silly. Yeah,
million.
yeah,
And total Disney Plus base is now 126 million. They also saw Hulu. More people are cutting that cord, like we've talked about. Your Comcast, your Spectrums. Those companies are under fire. Hulu also got 1.1 million new users. So that I thought was great. And this is the one that I said to you that I have been watching because I have a 4-year-old, well, now almost a 5-year-old in the next couple of weeks here. Their direct to consumer segment rose 8%.
yeah.
And that's what they're getting really good at. Is my wife comes to me almost every 2 days. Look what they came out with. Look what they came out with. Look what they came out with. Ella has to have this. Ella has to have that. So that to me was a big part. And I told you I was out at the outlets where there was a Disney outlet. And I told you there were people in there, and they were actually buying. They weren't just
Yes.
where a lot of the stores, especially the higher end stores, there was a lot of looky loos at Disney. There was a big line to get your stuff out. It was funny to
Right.
see that difference. And that's what I wanted to bring up too, Steve. I forgot yesterday was I think I saw the difference too, really, between some of these retailers that you and I are not huge fans of, but that showed great earnings, Five Below. That line was out the door. The wife, it took her 30 minutes to check out. It's those low price items people are still paying money on. So I do think that we're
And it's
seeing
going to
that.
get worse as the
Yeah, the
recession
people, the
clicks
Dollar
on.
Trees. I'm interested in Dollar Trees, Dollar Generals, all those type of stores because I am seeing the increase and the move has already come to those
It's
stores.
happening now,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
but it won't happen in a few months from now. I stocked up. I stocked up with paper products. Look, I mean, I'm not telling people to go run out and buy everything they can
And don't
to
board toilet
prepare.
paper. It's not going to go up that much.
Actually, I have a bad feeling that it might because of lumber issues, right? We have how else do you get Cascade paper and Boise Cascade, right? That's how we get it. And I'll tell you something else. Um, you're seeing that these Home Depots of the world and D.R. Hortons of the world are buying lumber at crazy amounts because the president has said now, this is the fourth time I've heard him say it, we don't need Canadian lumber. Yes, Mr. President, we do, unless we want to burn down our forests. We don't
Yeah.
have the lumber that Canada has, and we need that. So yeah, Canada's going to have lumber, and they're probably going to charge up the wazoo for that. So yeah, I want to say, hey, this is an interesting. What's interesting to me is Warren Buffett went, and I continue to harp on Warren right now, is that he went back about a few years back and started buying BNSF, Burlington Northern Santa Fe. So the trains, right? So he knew it was up a long time ago. He kind of understood, now oil prices have come down quite a bit, under $60 a barrel. So things are happening again. But no, if you can see, and we heard it from Scott Bessent yesterday, there's no recession. Well, sorry, Scott, you're not seeing what we're seeing in Main Street, I guess. Maybe
And we're going to find
Washington's
out if,
got
if
you.
he is the man that so many people think he is, including me, because he's on his way to Europe right now to start those trade negotiations with China, right?
Yeah, correct.
So we should see that coming through. I will say that, and the reason that toilet paper, because I actually went down this hole. Toilet paper's tariffs are one of the lowest tariffs that Trump gave was to the wood out of Canada that goes into that
That's correct. He did, yes.
pulp process. So that's why I
But
don't
the
see that.
difference is you're not buying one Mickey Mouse you're buying thousands and thousands and thousands of board feet of lumber. You're buying lots of toilet rolls. So, it's a little bit different. Yes, he's lowering prices, but uh, him lowering tariffs, he's
Still
trying to make
tariffs. We
himself
saw
look
yesterday, right? That
still
the
tariff.
talk from your boy, Mr. Tudor, was he can lower them 50%, and that's going to still send the market crashing. And I think that's something that we need to discuss because we've talked about it. I've said we're not in a V-shaped recovery, right? That we're going to
No.
see turmoil, and I don't even know that we've seen the bottom. You have definitely called for that, but I just think that what's going to happen is we're going to see some, and what we'll see first is a rip your face off the day they announced that the tariffs go down 50%, and then as that
Well,
news digests down after the few days, and they realize shit, everything still just went up 50%.
yeah.
That's where it comes. Good news. That news once it gets digested, because the news will cause, in my opinion,
And
rip
why?
your face.
And now, what does it matter if you lower rates? Because if you're lowering rates to buy something, you're lowering
Still can't
rates so you
afford it.
can't
Yeah,
afford it. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I
it's
mean,
it's a kind of a and what have I been saying for months and months and months? Stagflation. Inflation stays
yeah.
high. Unemployment goes low. The world, and it's the worst way the economy can be. We've got to fix this place fairly quickly, or things are going to get really bad very fast. And we're not going to feel it completely until Q3. I always, people always say the same thing. Recession, you don't ever know you're in recession until you're actually coming out of it, right? We're not even feeling it yet. And as I always say, recession is when your neighbor loses his job, and
Depression is when you lose
depression
it.
is when you lose your job. So we're okay now, but listen, this could turn very fast. There's no
Yeah,
good news yet.
and for me, everything's being told by commodities because they're staying at elevated level, even though gold has come down to 33.91, and silver come down to 32.74. Elevated rates. We're actually seeing
And
finally,
that gold silver ratio is widening. That's
yeah.
a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and then even Bitcoin, it hasn't hit my 98, Steve, but there's your 97. It went to 97 here. And Bitcoin in general, we're seeing open interest pick up, which is mean the market activity is picking up. The funding rate stayed stable, which means no one really has a clue which way it's going. You have just as many people betting on that 88 that we've seen people call for that are calling for 100. And we have seen market volatility pick up with about 50 million in just Bitcoin liquidations overnight. So we are seeing that, type of move. Steve, I missed something there when we talked about Disney, man. The big news there, you called this too. I got to be honest. You said they're going to build a new park. And I think you even pointed out the Middle East as being the area that you felt it was going to be done. Abu
Middle
Dhabi
East. Yeah,
on
Middle
Yas
East
Island.
and North Carolina. Look, Disney has to expand their reach. Um, and listen, I'm kind of saying this and kind of not saying this, but with all that money that Warren Buffett has, and he likes cash, and people are lined up to buy Mickey Mouse. Warren, Well, Disney World is probably for sale. I mean, you could probably buy it with cash, um, and they're growing, and there's a cash cow, and they're not going anywhere. They have every piece of this, the streaming side of this, and Warren's got several other companies he can sell. He can sell Disney furniture. He owns Nebraska Furniture Mart. He owns Dairy Queen. Guess what? All the ice cream in Disney World could go
The
become a
Dole,
Dairy
yeah,
Queen.
those Dole Whips that they
Yeah.
sell at Disney, yeah, that people go crazy for.
Hey, I like the Dole Whips
Um,
too. It's good.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I think market's looking pretty good here, Steve. It looks like we
Yeah.
got some strength today. Not a ton though. And
No.
I think it's going to be a muted day. I think people are going to play this, out of zero DTEs, which are nothing but lotto plays today.
I would not play that today. That
Yeah,
is
no,
probably the
that's what I
dumbest
think is
thing
going to
ever.
happen. I think we're going to see volatility click because of that. Ticks down a little bit this morning. Advanced declines positive at 2,000, which keeps us in that neutral area because of they come in there. DXY still can't break 99.50, Steve. That's still got to be a little bit of a worry for everything, right? But the Mag 7 was looking great. All 7 of them were in the green earlier. Microsoft has now gone slightly negative, and Netflix is flat on the day. But everything's just waiting on Mr. Powell today to me, it seems like. We do have some earnings coming in today. I've got all of those news that we'll get to here once we get to the open, so to speak. But today we're going to have ARM still to come and a couple of others, but not a huge amount coming later after the market today. All the news, I think, really is going to be on the Fed. It was some of our
Yeah.
favorite stuff today, me and you. What do we like to do? Play video games.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed to say it as a 55-year-old man, but video games are still a big part of my life. Unity,
Hey,
nice little move there. You were watching them. I know you're a big fan of Unity. Nice little move to the upside here. Let me grab their earnings reports here to
yeah, I
break
mean,
down
I
a little
love
bit.
killing zombies too, let's be honest. It's a mind number. And when you look at it, their revenues came in light. Um,
Yeah, down
but
about 6%
But their
from last
EPS
year.
beat, yes. Yeah. They lowered rate.
Um,
They got ahead of the game, right? They knew it was coming down the pipe. They got ahead of the game, and their earnings were good for EPS. They blew those out. But here's what I like is this new Unity. Yeah, you got it up there. Yep, Unity 6 and Vector Momentum. Yeah, very good. I liked their new version of what they're building. If you don't know, it's Unreal Engine. There's a lot of things that Unity does, right? With their software, and you probably don't play a game without Unity in the system. Um, now we're hearing some games like Red Dead Redemption. We're hearing games like, unfortunately, Titanfall 2 uh, on EA. Uh, and this could put a damper on some of this, but as people, because software is still software, right? Okay, so you're going to raise the tariffs on these wedding gifts, so I'll just give you a gift card, you can go buy what you want when things change, right? I think that's going to happen, and I think you're going to see that pretty big situation in software, and especially in gaming. Most of the games now, even for myself, I play are free because I buy the Xbox Gaming Pass,
Well, it's not
and
free. We pay a subscription to get them. I mean,
you pay a
yeah.
subscription fee, but I'm
It's
not
fine.
paying
It is
six.
sort of. They've changed their model because I'm a bit. That I have 2 of them. I have Xboxes and I have EAs for my
Yeah,
computer.
same.
So that way I don't buy. Yeah, you're right. I don't buy individual games. I buy
Right.
company.
That's
I buy all the
right.
games the company
But
produces.
but how many times do you put that $10 in to go buy, buy their coins so that you can buy
See,
the new
I
gun?
am cheap on those, man. And as you know, I'm pretty good. So I'm one of those that earns it. I'll grind. I'm a grinder. I'm
I'm not a
terrible.
grinder. I
Yeah, I
love
know
the
you're not. I
the
played against you. You have every new toy, every new thing that there is to beat my ass. I know. I know.
yes. I don't like to lose, Howard, as you know.
Yeah, I'm a
But
grinder on those. That's always been my way since I was a little kid on them because my father wouldn't let me have money to pay to buy more, avatars or whatever it was. Steve, another thing we've got to hit on a bad side here is, we started to talk about this and, the layoffs, CrowdStrike,
yeah,
500
I,
jobs.
I've been saying it. And look, stagflation, inflation's still going up, jobs coming
That's
down.
about
Uh,
5% of its employees. And it says as it leans into AI driven efficiencies and responds to emerging AI enabled threats. AI flattens their hiring curve, the CEO told employees. AI has become foundational, enabling faster product innovation, streamlined go-to-market processes, and efficiencies across both front and back office functions. Again, I can't stress this enough to our viewers. AI only takes your job if you allow it to. And what I mean there is learn to use AI, learn to be an early adopter of AI, become an expert at using AI, and it will be your moat to keeping your job, in my personal opinion. Because getting the right answer out of AI is not as easy right now as people would like it, and not getting the right, correct answers and being able to utilize it in the best way. So those of you out there that are in jobs that are threatened by AI, especially accounting, the consulting businesses, all of those automated processes, learn how to integrate AI into it. Be the person that's able to go to their boss and say, hey, we should be using the new AI tool from Quasar Markets within our everyday processes here at company XYZ, because that's going to put you ahead of the game. AI experts are going to have jobs, without a doubt.
What's interesting about AI, and of course, I've been around it for 15 years. We talk about this all the time. Look, everybody's an AI expert now. And I always say the same thing. Where the hell were you 15 years ago when we were talking about AI? Now it's here. Now we're moving fast. I've even built an award-winning Quasar Markets AI piece to this. But I think the flip is not about AI. I mean, if we all remember, and we're old enough to remember when the internet was coming around, the internet's going to take my job. It's going to ruin me. It's going to make my life so miserable because I don't really understand it. Well, the speed of adoption of the internet was pretty quick, but at the beginning it was a little slow, right? Nobody really understood it. What's it's going to do? All I can see is a little website. All I can Okay, well now today we don't even understand not even having the internet. We have it in hotels. It's so bad we got to have it on cruise ships, right? I mean, people can't stand not having their phone in our heads. Our social interactions have changed because of AI. Because think about it, how many times do you do a Google search compared to ChatGPT now? For you and me, I don't even use Google search anymore. It's
No.
all AI because I don't want just the answer. I want to know more than the answer. I want to learn something, right? And AI does that. Google just gives you an answer and gives you a map and an ad. And I don't want that, right? And I think Elon Musk was right about ChatGPT and not going after the for-profit model. So I like that. But is AI coming for your job? 100%. It is. It depends on what your job is. If you're a plumber, probably not. But at plumbing, it'll make your job easier, right? You take a picture of the piece and you don't know which piece to get it, and it'll order it for you and send it to the house, and you don't have to do anything anymore, right? In the old days, I gotta go to the store, ma'am, and I gotta change out your plumbing. Well, guess what? Those days are gone. I want to book airplane flights. Well, how long does it take out? I mean, I know I book flights all the time. It's a pain in the butt. I hate it. AI will know where I like to sit. AI knows what plane I like. AI will know what my loyalty points at. It'll know all these things and it'll actually work for me. So AI is not going to be where it just takes your job. It'll just make your job a little. And I always say it's the key to AI is efficiency. How much more efficient are you going to be by using AI? And in this case, we're going to be pretty efficient, pretty damn efficient already with AI. It's going to get even better. And so, how do you interact? I think, and I've said this even for our own self, is to get rid of the word artificial intelligence AI in the future. We use it because it's easy for people to understand AI. Oh, the word AI. Oh, okay. But Web3, all these terms that we use are just going to be. We don't say I'm going to the internet today. I'm just gonna look it up. Well, nobody knows. You're not going to go to the encyclopedia or dictionary to go look up your answer. You look to the internet. You look at your phone. I'm going to get my answer from there. It's going to be the same thing, right? AI is just going to be a part of your daily life, and it's whether or not you accept it. You don't have to accept it, but you won't be part of the new account, a new way we live, right? So yeah.
Steve, we just had new news break. EU has just announced that they are going to announce their provisional list of tariffs against the US tomorrow. So that just broke here on Twitter. So that's the first thing. I've seen a few things here on Twitter that aren't looking very good either. U.S. envoy, I'll post this one too. Give me one.
That's not good for the markets. I mean, because you know we're hearing that we're gonna have a deal with the EU. We're gonna have a deal with UK. We're gonna have a deal. No, I'm just not seeing it, right? And
Now, U.S. Envoy Witkoff is briefing the UNSC, the United Nations Security Council, on the Iran nuclear talks. So things are still ratcheting up there. You know, we talked a little bit about India and Pakistan. And for those that don't know, the issue there is those are both nuclear missile holding countries.
They are, yes, very
We
much
have a
so.
great hatred that comes from religion, as we know, which is usually the big driver in a lot of these. And it's all over Kashmir, which is almost 100% Muslim. And Pakistan wants to claim sovereignty of it because of their Muslim background, where the Indian and Hindus. And it's been a big battle for a few years here. I mean, not a few years, hundreds of years.
Right.
And, you know, rearing its ugly head again. So we'll see there, you know, what happens. But that's,
All right,
you know,
let's,
those
let's
are the
get to the
things that have me a little worried.
let's get to the charts then. Let's look at the QQQ for
Yeah,
today then.
absolutely. Qs are starting off here right at about 482.28, up slightly here. It is battling that exact sort of same area that I looked at yesterday, so that still remains my key line here. Got to get above 482.25 and stay above that to stay positive. We come back below that, we really have downside risk to 273 towards this 200-day MA and fill in the gap to the downside. You know, while we've seen, you know, while those are green, you know, candles, they are not green because we finished up for the day. We just finished higher than we opened on the day. So, you know, that's what we've seen. Most of the, you know, today's going to be interesting because there isn't a big pre-market,
Yeah.
post-market move, right? We're pretty
Oh,
muted here compared to what we've seen. We've seen moves of, you know, upwards of a full percentage point up or down based on it. So Qs, we're definitely taking a look there. SPY's a little bit in the same type of boat here. As long as we stay above this key spot at 555, I am still, you know, holding that we're still in the same range. We fall back below that 555, watch out down to the downside. Those are the two main things that I'm keeping an eye on today, along with, as we know, I'm always watching the VIX, which I moved on my sheet, unfortunately, because I didn't do it right, which is still staying elevated to that 2479. You know, I still have this range that it seems to want to play with, so I'm watching for it. You know, it's slowly moving back up towards this area of concern here for me. So that's what I'm going to keep an eye on today. Steve, what are you watching today?
I'll be honest with you. I'm be watching one thing and one thing only, and that's Powell.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I'm going to be watching today. I want to hear what he has to say. I've said this on the show yesterday that to me, the big question mark is about one thing. Um, it's about what the questions that are going to be asked of Powell. What is CNBC's Steve Leisman going to ask, right? What is Bloomberg's going to what are they going to ask? And is it going to be a very hard question, or is it going to be a softie? Is it going to be a softball question? You know, is it going to be, oh, well, tell us about what you're thinking about in the future for rates? No, you know, you said that the reason that we would lose lower rates was because if the unemployment would tick up and people losing jobs and if inflation was under control, and we're seeing all of that. And yeah, there you go. So. mm.
Steve, I have big news. IBIT has just passed GLD.
Well,
Wow.
there you go, Peter Schiff. Congratulations, you were wrong.
And we are
He
open. For those that don't that
yeah,
means that IBIT is now the sixth largest ETF in the United States, surpassing gold's ETF. What does that show? It shows that the youth today wants more access to Bitcoin than they do to gold.
that's why President Trump won the election.
Yeah. Tick
Yeah,
first move is to the downside here, down about 415. We get it on the Qs. We've gone flat. Takes us almost a flat on the day on the Qs. Wow, algo is definitely pushing us down to the first move here across everything. Dow Jones does open up up 42 basis points, and the rut opens up 50 basis points. So we'll see if those can hold. DXY pretty stable here at the open. Tick still negative 251. Advanced decline stuck right at that 2,2300 level. So it did not move with, you know, so it's showing pretty much 50% of the stock to the upside, 50% of the stock to the downside on the open here. Q's now starting to pump up here. Here we go. Here comes the battle. Seeing the original imbalance here to the downside. U.S. Vice President Vance, the U.S. and Europe are on the same team. I don't even know what that means. Tick has gone positive here, Steve, and we are seeing a little bit of a move to the upside here. Let's take a look at what the Mag 7's doing. Put this on the hourly chart across the board here.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a very
Pretty
muted
muted
morning
open
here.
so far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
pretty
not, it's
muted.
kind of what we thought. Yeah.
Not seeing all that much kick in here. We now see NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft in the red, Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, and Netflix in the green. Right now, biggest winner on there is Google, followed by Amazon and Netflix. NVIDIA, the one laggard here, but again, these things are going to battle out quickly here. Tick is going positive, negative, so we are seeing a battle between everything.
I'm just not
VIX
seeing
is
anything.
moving slightly to the
Yeah.
upside, but not a tremendous amount.
Yeah,
VIX is ticking up 2487, so the VIX is moving up a little bit.
yeah, I think we need to see Bitcoin over 97. I think we'll be fine. I mean, for me, it's struggling here. The VIX is dropping less than 1%. VXX is 6410. We need to really see a drop here. I'm keeping my eyes in the markets on both sides of this. As you can see, I got my NVIDIA at 113 is bothering me a little bit. Oil
Qs
still
have picked
dropping,
back up a little bit though,
58.75.
so we are seeing some buying so far.
But Disney's up 10%, baby.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah, Disney up 9.38. EA up. We got some nice risers. I will say we've seen a sell-off across. Well, they're not a company. Lumenthium Holdings was up tremendously, almost 8% in the pre-market, now down 3.46. Another one with a big drop here, LFST, which is a healthcare group, that was up again about 8% in the pre-market, all the way up over $7, now down to 572. That's why I don't really talk too much about the healthcare ones. Tough. Another one that was up almost 2% this morning was Win, and then a big sell-off. So that's the thing is, I think people are listening to us. We're seeing a lot of those quick things get bought off. On the downside, Upstart, which had its earnings the other day, down 10% here this morning, but moving up, and the cash market was down almost 20% earlier. Marvell getting hit pretty hard here too, Steve, down 11% here this morning.
Yeah, and ASML right below, TSMC, all these things.
Yeah,
I think,
SMCI chips in general getting hit pretty hard.
right. I think that the question mark around that is still China, right? We got to get a deal here.
Do you see AMD on their earnings? AMD had really strong earnings, Steve. I do have some notes on that. There it is.
Seems it's quiet. It's quiet morning. That's what we've kind of said. Hey, if you guys are out there, you hit us up, say hello. I know I'm on the road a little bit today and tomorrow, but yeah, make sure you retweet this out because I think we're killing it right now. My goodness, look at the numbers coming in right now, Howard. I love this retweet. Look, it's a free sign up for Quasar Markets. Get up there and just log in, see what we're seeing, and see why what we're seeing, how we do this, right? I mean, this isn't like we're I mean, yes, I've been doing this for 34 years, but also think about it from the perspective of how to make your life better, right? To get those answers too as well. So you can be a more informed trader. That's what I always want people to be, is more informed, not just from us. What's up, Steve Flanagan? How are you, brother?
Mr. Flanagan, we've got a big day today. We got Mr. Flanagan on at 10 o'clock, and we've got Anne Marie on at 10:30 today.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to seeing you and Anne Marie talk. My friend Anne Marie Band for many, many years. She is an amazing trader, and if you want to learn how to trade options on a higher level, Anne Marie can teach you both straddles and strangles, and she does very good at broken wings. And if you don't know what broken wing is, I would
I'll be asking her
suggest
a little bit about it for sure. And
good.
Ron, good to see you this morning. Hope all is well, my friend. Good morning,
Ron
everybody.
Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I look out the beautiful window here in Miami, Florida, Miami Beach, and I can tell you that, things are still moving. The world is still going, but it's just not the same, right? There's something in the air that just tells people that just things aren't perfect right now. So I think people are just you asked me what am I watching? I mean, it's the same thing. I'm literally watching Powell today. So yeah, Uber definitely, I totally.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up, Steve. Uber down about 5.66 here. Are you a buyer on this dip here of Uber? I know you talked
Let
about,
let
yesterday
let
being
it
a
di
fan.
I think it needs to dip a little bit more, but yes, I do like Uber. Who doesn't use Uber anymore, right? Who doesn't? And enough with Uber Eats, I think that's been a big plus for them. We talked about it yesterday with DoorDash,
Yeah.
getting beaten up. So
Yeah, I mean, so they're down about 6%. I do have they had a quarter one revenue of about 11.53 billion. It was a consensus beat on EPS. Their gross bookings for Q2 were 45.8 to 47.3 billion, and CEO calls AV tech the single greatest opportunity ahead, with 18 global partnerships and plans to scale Waymo in Austin and Atlanta. Again, that's the biggest takeaway for me is Waymo is going to be, what down the road is, the main driver for Uber, in my personal opinion. It's, because there's the gig thing is sort of coming, it's sort of lost its luster, right? More and more people have dropped off. I think it's harder for them to find drivers than it used to be. I think if we see a continued crackdown on immigration, that will continue to happen, because there's a lot of those drivers are people who
yeah,
first come into the country. Um,
yeah.
so it's going to be interesting, and Waymo would definitely give them, um, a nice,
Yeah,
boost.
but this is a situation where immigrants aren't taking away jobs from Americans. So I don't know. I don't really understand. I don't understand that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
no. Like I said, I'm not. This
yeah,
isn't a comment on that. It's just more that they're going to struggle to get drivers. It's like
right.
McDonald's; they can't
They're going to
get
struggle
more.
quite heavily. That's what I'm saying. Immigrants aren't taking away people's jobs, and people don't really want to drive for Uber right now, right? They really want, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the part that worries me a little bit. Let's see what's moving here in the morning.
It's very quiet morning here. I don't, the things we've talked
Yeah, all
about are
the
pretty
big
much
movers, quite honestly, outside of Disney, all the big movers are healthcare, which doesn't, unless you're in that business, it doesn't. You don't know what's going on. So it's
Palantir now up 2% here, and
a
now
little
I'll
bit of
tell
a
you,
bounce
I
back.
have been talking about it, and that's natural gas. UNG now up another 3.5% today.
Look, let's see if anything exciting is moving really to the upside.
I am seeing Nintendo NTDOY. I know we've been talking about gaming lately a bit. NTDOY, Nintendo, dropping again as they're really struggling with producing the Switch 2. I said it a long time ago that look, they had a massive, massive win here with Nintendo. But I don't know that they can hold up. They got it's all about execution. All right, you sold the Switch 2. Now you now you got to get it into people's hands. Can you do it? And I'm already hearing that Walmart is already turning a lot of people away. I've heard that Japan is now saying that they can't fulfill all of them now. It's going to be a mess at Nintendo. Um, And I like that because there'll be a lot of people playing in with it. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking to get one, but I didn't get my early numbers in, so I'll just wait till the price comes down, I guess, or wait till a deal with Japan. I don't know. Right now, you see
Yeah,
what I'm
I mean, I
saying?
don't
All of
know.
these
Yeah, like you
things
said,
that
it's going to be hard to get them, and the tariffs aren't going to help. So I think that could be
uh,
wearing on them. It's an interesting play before earnings. So they've got earnings coming up next week, right? Let me see
yep.
here if that click would work. There we go. That's why I was drawing. Thursday. So they got earnings tomorrow. So that will be interesting because again, they're gonna talk about the pent up demand. So we'll see what happens there.
SMCI.
SMCI getting smacked down again here.
Yeah, we're on the same page here, down 4% here. Look, they're still having problems. It's a mess with SMCI. I've said that for a while. But Netflix at 1,140 bucks a share.
Yeah, SMCI did have earnings, just so you know. They
Yeah.
announced an EPS of 31 cents versus the expected 50 cents and a revenue of 4.6 billion versus
And the
the
question is,
5.2
do you
billion.
believe it? Right? Do you believe the
And
numbers?
they
It's
offered
hard.
weak guidance for quarter four, citing the supply chain headwinds.
Disney now up 11% here, as money flows right into Disney, all that cash. Mr. Buffett, that's an interesting place, I'm telling you.
They definitely move into the upside here.
And Bitcoin now 97.2 again.
Yeah,
I'm
all the
liking
crypto,
this.
all the crypto. If you look at my gainers here on the right, these are the biggest gainers in the morning. You have CRISPR, MicroStrategy, Mara, Riot, Clean Spark. Those are all crypto mining companies or crypto.
Yesterday I talked about Warner Brothers, WBD, now up 2% here.
Nice. GDS down 7.41 again. That one's just been getting spanked.
I'll tell you another
Oh
one.
yeah,
I flew on Spirit Airlines yesterday. Nice, clean, and things are different there. There's a different feeling at Spirit Airlines. I fly Spirit because it gets me around Florida a whole lot easier.
got
And it's pretty much the place to if you fly around Florida, you're gonna go to Tampa to Miami or Jacksonville or Orlando. It's pretty much Spirit. And to get to the islands, it's a lot easier. But it's nice being owned by a multi-billionaire, right? To clean your airline up. So Ken Griffin at Citadel now is the big investor there at Spirit Airlines, and so yeah, I like Spirit Airlines, and I think they're going to come out of this bankruptcy and they're going to up into. I believe they're going to go to the Nasdaq. So yeah.
nice. Amazon out of the mag 7, nice little move to the upside, 1.64%. We know they had dropped after having positive earnings over the last 3 days from there. So nice little move to the upside. Tesla, nice little move to the upside here, 277. So nice little move to the upside. Ticks nicely positive here. Advanced decline has now gone up from where we started in the morning. And again, we are up from where we hit the cash market open. So far, the algos are moving us slightly to the upside, but not nearly the volatility we've seen over the last few weeks at all.
How about this one? We talked a little bit about yesterday about Arizona's governor vetoing the Bitcoin bill. But the first state in the nation actually did approve it, and that is the state of New Hampshire.
That's right, my boy Sununu. Yeah, I mean, like I said, and I think that you might see it happen in Arizona. Yeah, I think that they're going to try to override the veto.
As they should. I mean, the people of Arizona. I think the Democrats are making a very bad move once again.
Oh,
You
whoa,
you,
whoa,
you lost.
whoa. Big news here. Russian air defense downs Ukrainian drone over Moscow region. So again, we're going to see some rhetoric, it looks like, pick up on Russia, the Ukraine here. So be wary. That tends to affect the markets here.
Yeah, when this issue of Ukraine and Russia needs to stop almost immediately. It's yeah.
Trying to see what hits here. Nothing really. We do have to mention that Ethereum, a nice little boost because they have their PECTA upgrade set for later today.
Hmm.
So Ethereum had seen a nice little boost above 18 and was battling to get above 1800. Now at 1830, it's made a nice move up, almost 15 over six, almost 16% over the last month. So Ethereum, it should complete it here, right? Oh, it already it needs, I think, 5 more minutes. It should be done. But we should see the PECTA upgrade with enhanced wallet functionality, staking flexibility. It is the largest upgrade that we've had since the merge. So it's definitely a big deal. It also added layer 2 scalability and laid critical groundwork for Ethereum's long-time scaling roadmap, which we all know is about having 64 different Ethereums basically running in conjunction with each
Yeah,
other.
and I think that's always been the key, right, for crypto is can it handle the microtransactions? And there's been a big fight between Solana and Ethereum and all. I mean, I don't want to step in your world because this is where you really thrive. But
Yeah, right. So Ethereum, obviously, the fees go up too much. While it has a pretty good
right,
throughput, the problem is that fees click up when there's a surge.
right.
The idea is that it's going to shard into 64. Right now, it's a 1-lane highway, is the way I describe it.
Can you
And
explain that to
the future will
people?
be.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't
So,
really
on a
understand what you mean by that.
blockchain, the way it works is you have exactly like it says, you have a chain that comes across and it adds a new block every X amount of minutes. And it does it one at a time. What's going to happen is right now it does it, it adds one and then it adds the next and then it adds the next. And it only works on the one that's directly in front of it. What's going to happen is it's going to have 64 different sort of shards that are working on the next 64
Okay, so
thing at one time.
explain what a shard is so that everybody
A
understands
shard means
terms.
they're going to break off the chain into sub-chains, so to speak, that will work. And what will happen is, I'm trying to think of the best way to show you. It would probably be,
And when you talk about shards and sharding, or we talk sharding, that I think that's the key so far to microtransactions, right? Because when let's say, for example, I'm talking to people out there, if I'm sending Howard Ethereum, and Howard is going to look at mine and explain to me, okay, hey, I want to send Howard $20. Uh, boom, and I send him $20. It's not just one piece of the blockchain it goes. It's several different transactions. Several different people are looking at that transaction, and it has to be seen by several computers to say, okay, that's okay. The blockchain moves, and I think sharding makes it a little bit easier and a little bit faster and a little bit more efficient.
well, no,
So
exponentially faster. So right now,
exponentially
if you look
faster,
at,
yes, but
yeah, if
faster.
you look at my screen, what happens is a block is created, the next block is created, the next block is created. What is going to happen in the future is you're going to have, this is the blockchain down here, and then think that there's 64 lines. And instead of one line feeding the next block every time, which is what happens now, it's one line supplying the chain. We're going to have down the road
64.
Yeah. And then what happens is we have this one makes this one, while this one drops in this one, while this one drops in this one. So it would actually increase Ethereum's output by an exponential of 64 times.
And can you give examples of sharding and other crypto?
No, because there isn't. In other
And
words,
that's
this
the
would
key, and
be,
that's what exactly right. And that's why Ethereum is having a good day, I think, and I agree with that. The speed of Ethereum, the cost of Ethereum in the past has been some of the backlash. But
yeah, without a doubt. They still got to fix the fee structure right now. The
correct.
Ethereum's biggest drag is that the layer twos like Optimism, Arbitrum, Base, all of those are stealing the fees, so to speak, from Ethereum. So as this moves out, and this happens, that will change. They got to change that fee structure. That fee structure has to come back to the Ethereum holders. They are the ultimate holders of the security for the chains of Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, and the rest. ZK Snark, I'm missing, another 20 of them. But that's the case. So that's going to be the big change to keep an eye on there. And then if you're wondering, well, what would be a big winner in that type of case? Chainlink. Why?
Chainlink,
Because
yeah.
Chainlink is the oracles that allow outside data to be brought into these blockchains. They're what's called an oracle, a trusted data point that allows information, because the blockchain is a closed ecosystem. It doesn't want to hear from the outside. It doesn't interact with the outside. That's what makes it so secure. So, and that's why Chainlink is so important, because these oracles are a lot of times what hackers try to manipulate to cause, price discrepancies within the market to take advantage of it. We don't see it as much anymore, but it used to be a big problem with what's called flash loans, where within the same transaction, they would cause the price to move, take advantage of it, and then repay it at a lower price. And it would cause losses for a lot of the DeFi areas. So, and it's also the key to DeFi. That's the key to DeFi, is going to be the sharding. With that being said, I should say that there is a company similar to what MicroStrategy is doing that's called Solana Solutions, and they made their first huge purchase of Solana. I don't remember the amount. It probably is going to come up here if I look at this. Hold on one second.
And I'm a big fan of Solana. I like Solana for what they're doing and the next level of what they're thinking about doing too as well. So and SOL is the ticker for there on the crypto space.
Yeah, I have it up on the screen, Solana. It doesn't have it on here, but yeah, that was the big news there, is that they had a big purchase. Yeah, Solana is definitely going to be one of the solutions here. The thing with Solana, though, is it made its big move up before because it became the home of the meme coin. And that is not a way to be sustainable in the crypto business. So they've got to get back to producing real stuff there, too. And what I tend to look for is how much value they have locked up into their DeFi systems.
The Nasdaq has moved a total of 30 points in the last 15 minutes. So
yeah, that's what I mean. Is it's hard to get excited today about anything, because it's just a muted day. I mean, it's moving up a little bit, but yeah,
and
we
it's okay
opened
to
up.
have a muted day every once in a while. It's all right. We've
Yeah, I
had
mean, it's
such
only a
much.
$2 difference on the entire range so far of the
Right.
Qs. We usually see a $5 to $7, $8 difference by now. I mean, we're already almost through the algo
We
here.
will after 3 o'clock today. I know.
Yeah, I think we'll see it right before, right? The algos usually start kicking in again
Right.
about 1:30 today, so I will warn people about that. Yeah, Bitcoin right at 97 here again, so nice move here. Just trying to see what else is moving here. Anything? Best Buy up 2.38% today. That's a pretty good move up to the upside there for that.
And we know that, right? We've been saying that people are front running these electronics, and the sales are out there. Like I said, a Costco and Sam's Club and Best Buy and these electronic stores, these retail electronic stores are going to do very, very well. But Q3, it may not be. They may not have any inventory to sell, and what inventory they do
Well,
have
the
to
inventory will
sell,
be much more expensive, right? Right now,
it'll
they're
be
going to
way
look
more
good
expensive.
because, like I said, Best Buy hit me up and said, "Hey, you've been staring at this monitor for a year and a half and won't pull a trigger. What if we lower the price to $225 for a 34-inch, widescreen monitor? Are you interested now?" And I couldn't click yes fast enough.
Marketing
So yeah,
101, Howard. Yes, finding where you're wanting to buy, right? But that's the
that's the
markets. Yeah.
thing, Steve. I gotta say, I did like buying Berkshire on that dip. Like I said, now up at 514.30, nice little recovery there. And I mentioned that I liked it because of this daily linear regression, holding like a champ here today. So I still like that.
Yeah, when people asked me yesterday what should they buy, I said I kind of like this Berkshire Hathaway because Greg Abel and Alan James, those guys are really
They've been
pretty
doing
much,
this. I mean, let's face
they're
it,
the ones that are
Warren
picking the
hasn't been as
choices. That's right.
involved. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, well, Warren might have had the final say, and that's why some things maybe didn't get done and why there is so much cash reserve right now, because he is a little bit more conservative, I feel, than, Greg and the others are there. So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm a fan. Like you said, they're going to buy something good. That's my opinion.
Buy Disney. I think that would be great for Warren Buffett. Cash cow. You've got all cool products, electric vehicles. You got BYD, right? You've got. I mean,
The scariest part is they could buy it and still have 100 billion left over. Almost
they
too
could
much.
buy it and have 200 billion left over. Yes.
Well, I
We'll
think
see.
they'd
Well,
have to give a premium. To take it
there'd be a
private,
little bit of a premium.
at
Yes.
182, they'd have to offer 230.
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all.
But you can have
That's all I'm saying.
Dairy Queen. Hey, I like Dairy Queen ice cream. Put that
I'm a
into the
big fan of
parks.
Dairy Queen, as you know. I am a big Dairy Queen
I
fan.
mean, Mickey Mouse dilly bars. I mean, come on now, that'd be great. Yeah.
Foot Locker moving up too. Again, all these brick and mortars that I just don't agree
I
with
told
personally.
you, but I think that Foot Locker's different in the fact that they're okay with the shoes because they're being made in Vietnam and not quite in China. And I think that Nike has come up with a new DNA. I now bought a pair
Or
of the
they just been
DNA8s.
beaten down to death so much that there's
Could
nowhere to
be,
go
yeah.
from from 10.
We are seeing a little bit of a
Um,
pop here in the Nasdaq, though. A little bit of a move to the upside.
I mean, keep in mind, Foot Locker was a $45 stock. It's now a $10 stock.
Yes.
In general, seeing positivity across the broader market. The Mag 7 seems to be the drag today a little bit.
I'm seeing Novo Nordisk NVO now up 3.6%. I did see where Shingrix, the shingles vaccination came out. They did a study, posted it on our Twitter page if you get a chance to see that, where it actually not. I mean, I had the shingles vaccination because I don't want shingles at 50 years old. Thank you very much.
I have not done it yet. I need to. My father got it.
Yes, but it also came out with a study. Over 1,000 people were studied. And it's also helped you with your heart as well.
Really?
There's some benefits to it too as well. Not just listen, if you're not getting vaccinations because you don't believe in vaccinations, I believe in vaccinations. Okay, I don't want to sick. I believe in education. I don't want to sicken an uneducated community that I live in. I want people safe and happy and educated and learning, and making us a better place to live. Um, but the vaccination world is getting hit, right? These companies are being built. Look, measles coming back in Texas. Give me a break. Stop it, people. This is absolutely kids do not deserve to die because you don't believe in vaccinations. Now, I'm not going to get on my high horse here about vaccinations because I think it's a personal decision, but I also do believe that I don't want a world that we live in where everybody's sick around me. Great. I can't.
Okay, well, I see him in the room here.
Let's
We've
bring
got
him
our
in.
man, Mr. Flanagan.
Let
How
me,
are you today, Steve?
yeah, let me throw you guys a lifeline here, talking about vaccinations and
Hey.
Dairy Queen. And listen, it's about to get real. That's where we're going here.
I
You know,
agree.
currency markets are running flat. The dollar is down right now.
Yeah.
But if you look at any currency, they are completely running across the bottom line in a tight trend, and it's telling you everybody is in the starting blocks. We're
Mm.
all looking for a leader. Is there anybody out there that's going to take the helm here and lead? Hello, Fed.
Who? Who, Steve? Who?
Hello, Fed.
Oh,
mm.
you're counting on the Fed? Oh, that's it. I got to go to sleep then. I need 24 hours of sleep.
All right. Well, here's my
I'm
take.
just teasing you,
So
buddy.
let me just get my take right out there. The Federal Reserve is about, in my view, they can either get out there and be data dependent and recognize the fact that the world is slowing, although we had some decent numbers out of Germany today,
Yeah.
but the world is slowing. I mean, let's think about it. Here's the headline: Federal Reserve set to keep interest rates unchanged amid signs of slowing growth and tariff concerns.
Yeah.
Precisely the reasons to get in the driver's seat and cut rates 0.25%, because if they don't cut rates 0.25%, they are going to be faced with 0.5% at the next meeting.
Yeah, but Steve, this is what we've complained about for the last month, that they're not listening to us. Powell is
Yeah.
not bending the pressure of politics. He is staying the course. He's saying that it's data dependent. I don't know what data he's looking at. He changes the goalpost every 5 minutes on us. He says, well, it's all about jobs, it's unemployment. Oh no, well, we have a dual mandate. Okay, well, here's your dual mandate. What is it? What does he need to see to change his philosophy? Now, there is an interesting issue because on this one, Neil Kashkari is going to vote because one of the members, his wife, passed away. And Neil probably will vote to lower rates, but they have been in lockstep. The whole, I said this several times. I don't even think Powell has anything but a purple tie. I don't even know if he has a. I mean, how many purple ties does he have? He has
Yeah.
done everything he can do to stay out of politics, yet the president says, I'm not going to fire him, but he needs to lower rates. Okay. Well, he's saying that I need this, and this data. Great. He needs unemployment, which is coming down. We know people losing jobs. Another more jobs lost this week. We're seeing inflation in check. We're seeing we're seeing other countries, especially in Europe, lowering rates. We saw China doing the same thing. Why are we the outlier? Why are we the country that doesn't want to do that?
Well, let's say let's look for a popularity vote. Is the confidence level in our Fed high or low? And
Very
it's
low.
clearly very low. You know, we're going all the way back to inflation is transitory. I mean, you know, look, Larry Summers was out there. He was
Yeah.
out there telling everybody, "You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." Okay,
And
so
he's a Democrat.
and
And
he's a Democrat.
he's a Democrat. He's a liberal Democrat too, by the way.
And he got it right. So, what did they miss? Their confidence levels in the world are very low. Either they can remain even lower and do nothing, or they can get out. This is an opportunity to get out there. 0.25% is not going to really change anything other than to signal to the markets.
I say it's a direction, yeah.
And that's what we're missing today. We're missing that forward guidance. That's kind of a lost art right now. We're data dependent. You know, Howard, we're talking about that all the time, looking in the rearview mirror and trying to drive the car forward. It just doesn't work.
Without a doubt.
So, you know, I'm trying to look around. I see the Deputy Treasury Secretary Faulkner hit the news wires yesterday, noting that despite the ongoing tensions, investor concerns, U.S. economic stability is you know, not questioned. The dollar is still the reserve currency, and the 10-year auction went pretty well. So I don't know. I think this is a good opportunity to get back in the driver's
But
seat.
what about all the geopolitical issues that are going on?
Yeah.
I mean, Russia. We just heard about Russia getting hit by Ukrainian drones. Obviously, Pakistan, Iran, um, you know, India. These issues still aren't going around. We're hearing from the ports in Japan that they're still empty. Boats are coming back empty. You're seeing a rush of wave of people buying electronics because they want to get ahead of the tariffs, and there's so much electronics right now in the stores, and they're trying to get rid of their. Steve, you said it. You and I said it several times that it's just give us some good clarity, give us some good data, give us some good info, and we can make better decisions. Is the Fed sitting here and going? I sit here to see the same thing, Steve. I get it, Steve. I hear you when you want to lower rates, but there's still a lot of problems in the world, and we can't figure this out. So, are they as lost as anybody?
They are as lost as anybody, and
Oh wow,
if they do nothing, they are going to have a very hostile press today. You know, I heard you mention
that's
the
what
guy
I said. Yeah,
policeman. You know, and yeah, and I think that they're going to say, okay, where is your goalpost here? Give us something that we can report on, that people can look at and bank on, because there is so much, and I hate that word, uncertainty.
right.
But you know, Fed, this is your job.
Yeah,
You lead the market. Show us what you're seeing. And if you're not seeing what we're seeing, then what the heck is your crystal ball? Because it's my contention, and it's been mine since last year, that the models that they are using are antiquated and do not work in today's marketplace. So I'm hoping, that's a bad word to use in trading, but I'm hoping that, you know, smarter heads are going to prevail and say, you know, we're uncertain, but 0.25% is not going to do anything except reassure everybody in the world, not just United States, that we are aware of what's going on.
That we're paying attention.
Paying attention. Yep.
So I've got to ask Steve, we've seen, well, now it's moving up a little bit, 99.4 on the Dixie.
Yep.
91. Do you have any levels you're looking at here today? I'm looking at that 99.15 myself.
It's when, you know, it's, you know, midweek. So I always look at Wednesday as a key day in the week to watch the closing. Closing level last week in the Dixie was 100.04, and that's a 3-week March higher. That's my level. I need to get above that. If I don't get above that, yep, it could get a little ugly here. We could begin to see a retest of, perhaps down below the 99, 98 and a half zone. But I'm bullish. I do believe that, my view is to watch the closing levels carefully today. So, and that's why I say it's about to get real.
I was
Because
just looking down here, Steve, at dollar CAD here, and dollar
Yep.
CAD 137.81. That was kind of a pissing match yesterday in the Oval Office between
Sure
Mark
was.
Carney and President Trump, that he is now still reiterating that Canada will be the 51st state. Mark Carney is saying, no, 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 never, 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 never. And that's why I won, Mr. President. Because I think he was slated to actually lose, and I think he was kind of surprised. We're seeing more scrutiny at the border. We're seeing people getting detained at the border between the United States and Canada. Mexico's border with Sheinbaum, they don't want troops. This isn't a friendly three-country area that it used to be, right? We could always go to Canada and go party in Montreal. I used to remember going to hanging out in Montreal and hanging out in the borders
Neil's
of
Pub was my
Mexico.
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think as far as Canada and Mexico, I would say worse news is behind us.
Okay.
Again, I like to read between the lines, and they had a very productive meeting.
Do you think so? You think
Yeah.
so?
I mean, okay, give up the 51st state. I mean, let's stop with that type of talk.
Why? But why is he saying it? What is his purpose?
He's a needler. He's just looking to get under your skin, right? It's like Greenland. Hey, we're gonna, we'll take over Green.
Well, Greenland's different. I mean, we are spying now on Greenland. We've now been
No, not today. Today we've asked our Security Council to start examining what's going on there. He sucked the CIA on him yesterday and today.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
That our intelligence agencies need to be much more concerned about threats from Greenland.
I believe
so yeah, no, that is not the case. We are not good with Greenland today.
No. I'm saying we are spying on Greenland. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, spying. I thought you said fine. I apologize.
No. We're spying on Greenland. Sorry, I got fine. I don't have my big microphone on me today. I got my headset in. We're spying on Greenland.
What do we got? 35,000 people. I mean, that's not a tough job, is it?
But I will say this much, Steve.
Yeah.
If we we could send troops to Greenland very quickly, and that will escalate the world very fast in Greenland.
Yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Are we though?
I'm not going there yet either.
I don't think that we are. I think he really wants Greenland for two reasons: the Arctic, because we have been falling way behind in the Arctic, with oil and natural resources, and number two is he wants a buffer between us and other countries, because we've always said that the big reason with the United States stays out of all the wars is because we have a big pond between us.
Right.
Greenland is kind of the skipping stop for a lot of, in Iceland too. I hope he doesn't say I love Reykjavik, by the way.
Yep.
But I think he's going to move troops into Greenland. I really do.
I don't think so, Steve. I think perhaps what the end game, security, I get that. Natural resources, I get that. But I think use this Ukrainian deal, I think, as the litmus test going forward. There will be economic cooperation. So you don't take over a country. Basically, you have an arrangement where perhaps we go in and help their employment, get people in there, or mining industry. We get a cooperative agreement. It's kind of a security agreement. It becomes everything, but independence is not going to be taken away. Just like in the Ukraine, we have an agreement now in place, and the minerals will be a shared territory between United States and Ukraine. So I think look for more of a business type of cooperative around the world with other countries. And I don't think we stop at Ukraine. Greenland's probably one. Canada and the U.S., Mexico and the U.S., I think that there's way too much. They took out of, he said we may not need to negotiate or something to that effect. He was referring to the USMCA. Maybe we don't. The framework is fine. It's all there. Let's not rehash that. Let's just get fairer terms. I think in the end, we're going to find simpler solutions. And I really hope, again, that sprinkle of positive news. I really
Simple
hope.
solutions, but we've had big talk.
Yeah.
That's my problem. If you've got simple solutions, I am with you 100% of the way. But but all this talk around this 51st nation and Greenland, we're just gonna take you over, and the talk's got to stop. He's the president of the United States, right?
He likes to carry the big stick, and he talks the talk. I just hope that.
But the other side of that is speak softly.
Yes, and I do believe. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I do believe the
I
agreement.
don't think you are. I think you're right on. I think you are prognosticating the future. I think that's what you're seeing. Let me I'm not want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
You're saying that you think that everything's going to work out in the future, probably by, and we're Howard and I were talking about this earlier this morning, by third quarter, right? That everything will be working out. Tariffs will be worked out by third quarter. Things will be moving fine, and this whole thing in the past will go away, including Ukraine and Greenland, and everything will work itself out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but I would come a lot forward on that. I would think
But
by the
you've
end
been
of
more in
by
the
the
June, July area, right?
I'm talking the end of May, June. And I think
In
you're
the
going
May, June. Okay.
end of
Wow.
May, June. I think a lot of things are sorted out. And I think my view, I'm looking forward in my crystal ball. We are on the precipice of a global, economic buildup. I think that you've got China in the lulls. You've got Europe. Geez, I mean, how much lower does Europe go? They're essentially at anywhere from 0 to 0.5% growth. The UK,
But Europe just said they're going to raise tariffs. They're doing it today.
yeah, and I think that's also part of their negotiations. How
Okay.
long did it take them to come back with their little,
2 days.
right?
2
I
3
don't know if you
days.
guys
Yeah.
saw
Right.
it too. Russia and Venezuela just signed a strategic cooperation pact. So we're seeing the world's getting split up here pretty quickly.
And the
That's what it
UK,
says. Yeah.
the UK and India signed an
Yeah.
agreement. So, look, the geopolitics, no doubt, are increasing, and there's got to be a de-escalation there before anything that I think is going to happen is going to happen. Because if if Pakistan gets back and launches something now into India, this is a whole different level. We're talking
Right.
two nukes here.
Yeah, I mean, remember, I brought this up on Friday when when somebody I know in this room with a last name that starts with an F said, "Watch for good news over the weekend." I said, "Watch for strife over there." Right?
You were right on.
Yeah, I'm not one I'm happy about it. Just the way it was simmering.
And
as
the
you know,
question mark that I have with
as
India,
someone,
Pakistan is, while they are two nuke countries, they're not the only ones in that area. I mean, Russia's right there, China's right
well,
there.
and they're picking sides. China's already backed Pakistan
Correct.
very
Yeah.
firmly, made it clear that India is wrong and that they're giving weapons to Pakistan right now. So we're starting to see this. That's what I'm saying, is we're starting to see the world pick sides, but that helps the U.S. in my opinion in this one. That puts Monty in bed with Trump,
picked
right?
sides was Axis and Allies in World War II.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think it's going that far, but I do think we're headed for a little
World War
bit of a
II
Cold
started
War
on
here. I don't
less.
think we're going to have a real war, but we're in a Cold War.
So let's bring it home to currencies. That's exactly what the dollar value is telling you today. The dollar value is showing you concern in the world. The 3 weeks that we were running, we had 2 previous higher closes, and now we're beginning to trade down in the dollar. And I think that's exactly what the world in the currency markets, $7.5 trillion a day, is telling us, that there's concern about all of these escalating geopolitical events, the tariff talk, the interest rates. I mean, it's now more than, and this is very unique into my 43 plus year career. I don't think I've seen this many trading issues on the table where any one of these can drop and have a significant effect to markets.
But yet the markets right now are pushing up.
Take off here. Yeah, DXY is trying to push up. First time it's broken the top of linear regression here on the minute chart. So we're finally seeing he's, the algos were sort of kicking it in here and nothing really going on. This is the first extended move to the upside, I'm saying.
You can throw a dart with your eyes closed, and you are going to hit a negative event. You're going to hit something negative.
It's positive. It's both. That's what goes both ways right now, though, because it's the same way as there is if you every time that we do get someone talk of a trade tariff coming off, talk of negotiation. I think that's a two-way street. I think it's just like we talked about. It's still tweet analysis outweighs technical analysis. You can use your technical analysis to look for breakout spots, to look for spots if we get bad news where you're going to find that bounce come from. But right now, that's how I'm using it. Steve, him and I argued yesterday because I said, you need your charts. I'm picking the levels almost every day it's at, because here's what happens. If the news goes bad, look at this level. If the news is good, look at this level.
Yeah, I mean, technical analysis. I mean, I grew up on technical analysis. I've been doing charting for 34 years, like Steve Flanagan, and I believe in charting. Love the CMT Association, by the way, and friends, everybody there. But and of course, Steve Flanagan's been with me at a CMT Association's events. Yeah. But right now, your charts are worthless when it comes to Trump's tweets. The world just changes almost instantly when something happens. When something happens in Pakistan and India, when something happens in Moscow, the charts are meaningless in a lot of ways.
And Steve, to that point, this is where I'm at. There's so many negatives. Every single financial instrument today is so geared in the same exact direction. So the one thing, when I say close your eyes, throw a dart, you're going to hit a negative. The one thing we're not hitting is a positive.
Right.
And if we do get a positive event, and I always like to be the one on the other side of the boat right now. I'm always a contrarian. I've been a currency trader my whole life. The bigger moves are the contrarian trades. If we get, you can throw your charts out. If you get positive news, it's going up. The dollar's going up. Equity's going up. The whole market's going to reverse here.
But Steve,
we have for you, Steve, because I'm with you on that, and we've talked about the biggest, rip your face off bold moves are during a bear market. Is it a sustainable move? Because I don't think it is right now. I don't think we're at a point where it's sustainable, because what's going to happen is they're going to say tariffs are now just 50% on China. They're not 110. Well, guess what? That's still not good for us. So when that news gets digested and people actually still look and see that their little trinkets from China are still 50% more today than they were a year ago, that's negative. What is going to be give me the positive news. Where do we get an actual positive that becomes a positive, not a positive that says we're better than today?
Okay.
How about one where we're positive, we're better than we were when he took office?
A positive.
Give me one.
Okay. A positive is going to be a trade agreement with a major industrialized country.
Which one? You said India before. Yeah, you said India.
I like India. That's the one I'm focusing on. A positive will be on Monday or Sunday night. We find positive statements out of China-US meeting. Okay. Right now, every model, computerized model, is probably overweight negative. Now, that means not well positioned for an equity rise, probably long of gold, long in crypto spaces, long of everything that they need as a negative overweight right now. Now, you say, give me a longer term, what can build a positive move? Simple. Once the models have to go back to 50% to be neutral, it's going to be a sustained rally.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, because I haven't seen it yet. Anything that can hold any type of power, and I don't think we go to. Again, I guess my question would be: do you think we actually see a positive deal, or we see, now we're not going? What I guess my comment is saying or moving from 110% tariffs or from 50% tariffs to 20 isn't a positive move. It is the reversal of a more negative move to less negative. I don't see anything in the horizon, and maybe it is till June or July until we actually get to what would be a net positive for the market.
Well, we had Michael Litt on yesterday, and his thesis was that we are in a bull rally in a bear market. Would you agree with that, Steve?
Yes, right now, yes. I think that's perfectly said. So what ends the bear market? That's the significant part.
Right.
And that's going to have to be more than one trade agreement. It's going to have to be a couple. It's going to have to be followed by an economic. I mean, is the economy really, really weak? I don't know. Germany had some positive numbers today.
I
If
don't know.
we,
Howard said that he saw quite a few people at Five Below and Dollar Tree and all that. That does kind of pretend. I mean, I'm looking at my Gmail and now it's 70% off, 80% off. Look at the numbers of people that are running to Best Buy to buy their $500 85-inch screens. We talked about that this morning. Yeah, I do think that there's we're living through a recession, minus 0.3% GDP. I mean, we're in the. I think we're living in a recession right now.
let's see what the revisions are on that one, Steve. But yeah, I
Okay.
mean, if we go into a technical recession, two negative quarterly growths, yeah, I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I would actually see Q1 probably being revised to being up 0.3, maybe.
Okay.
Again, keeping Atlanta Fed one minus 1.7 didn't come anywhere close to that. But
No, I don't trust the
you
land
know,
Fed.
you
Their
know,
numbers change every second. Yeah.
again, my emphasis on everything I talk about, money moves first. And the reason then that portends is how rapidly today's economies can quickly adjust, almost like going from a neutral in your car to putting it in drive. That's
Right.
how quick economies can adjust. And
Right.
that's what I think will happen
Okay.
here.
Okay, so you're saying that the ship of the United States will can turn on a dime based on. I mean, I agree with you. I'm invested. I'm positive. I went there during that last big dip, the capitulation. I felt like it was capitulation. I did several times on here on the show. Howard was with me. I bought, and I'm still long. I mean, I went long on Bitcoin at 72 too. Everybody knows here I did that. Um, but I'm still, even as a trader, as long as I have, you know. As a history buff that I am, and of course I have 2 degrees in it, right? And poli sci and masters. Uh, this is a pretty strong time of uncertainty. I don't think I can remember a time that was this bad. I remember that in the early '90s when I worked in the Clinton campaign, the economy was terrible during George Bush's end of George. We won big because of the economy. Um, the economy is worse now than it was during that time, except for unemployment. Unemployment was higher then. Our deficits are way higher now. Our trade deals back then, we talked about tariffs, Clinton administration, but the the uncertainty in the world is way higher than it was, and our social media is much stronger than it was back then. So we know, and we are more informed as traders, and we have faster way of trading. Volatility's up, so people are more nervous now than ever. I would say, right, Steve? I mean, you and I have been in this for a long time.
I mean, Steve, couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
For the viewers, you know, I've seen just about every event in the financial market since the early 80s.
yeah,
I've never seen anything like this. Why? Simple. Back on all of the things you've referred to and what I've gone through, the event has been singular in nature.
Right.
right,
And so the outcome has been very easy to watch. Oh, it's bad. Oh, it's starting to get good. Oh, there's an agreement. And then we trade accordingly. Here, let's say United States, India announce an agreement today. Markets rally. Let's say the Fed cuts a quarter percent today. Markets rally. Two good pieces of news suddenly come out. And then all of a sudden, Pakistan fires a missile into Mumbai or into a big area and creates a tremendous bam, everything turns negative. So that's why today is so unique.
yeah,
It's almost as if there are so many different events one could happen and maybe not even have.
right.
So Mr. Litt's comment, it's a bear market with a bull rally. Yeah, that's a good analysis right here. I would take it further. I would look that the bear market is about ready to get broken. That's my view. I think we're on the precipice of a global
Boom.
turnaround. So, but that precipice, is, I believe, end of May, June. That's what I've been saying. That's been my theory, my thesis. You said third quarter. Okay, if I'm wrong, third quarter, but I believe it's going to be a lot quicker
No,
than.
I think this is great. So if we take the second quarter thesis of yours,
Mhm.
at mid second quarter, and I take my early third quarter, so it's somewhere in between. I'm okay with that, right? It's
Right.
for me right now. I'm not trading as heavy as I used to. I used to trade daily, and I still do, but I think you're right. I mean, I'm looking at a much longer period right now, between now and October, September, October time, and I'm saying bullish. I really am. I think Bitcoin goes above. I think gold comes down, and 'cause I think gold's out of control right now,
Yeah.
and I think the Dixie is cheap right now. I agree with you, Steve.
You know what, Steve? I would say to the viewers, go recall this early this week and Warren Buffett on Sunday, Monday, and look at some of his comments. He says, if you can't take I'm paraphrasing, but if you can't take a 15% move against you, you shouldn't be in the stock market,
He
right?
did say that, and I agree with him on that.
Now, keep in
Yes.
mind, though, that Warren doesn't day trade. Warren is an accumulator of assets in general.
But this is the type of market
You need to be that.
based on what
He
we're talking
lives.
about.
That's
This
what
is
I've been explaining to people.
that's
Some
what
people have been telling me you can't long-term invest right now. I said, you're absolutely wrong. This is when you long-term invest.
this
This
is
is
winning
when you
long
should be
term,
looking
right?
for value.
This
This
is
is,
not day
like I
trading
was
time. Yes.
beating the desk yesterday to buy Disney, is these are the things, these great companies are the companies right now to get, in top of, and that you want to have at this time is to look for value for long-term. So I disagree with those people that don't think this is a good
right.
time to be looking at your long-term portfolio. This is what I'm adding to. I'm not swing trading nearly as much as I was. That was the gist of most of my trading is a swing trader
How,
/ day
Howard,
trader.
I got 3 minutes before I go to my next meeting, but I see my friend
I
Anne
do
Marie
see her in the
Vance.
room.
If she's ready to go, let's bring her in here. Bring Steve Flanagan and keep him all. Let's keep us all in here. Let's just go.
You
This has been a
got it.
good
Let's
meeting.
get everybody in and put them on this screen. Anne
Howdy.
Marie.
How
It's
are
so
you, Anne
nice
Marie?
to be with everybody this morning. How are you?
Good.
The numbers are sky high. I'm here in Miami today at a NASDAQ meeting, but I'm telling you, Anne Marie, it's good to see you. That beautiful smile of yours, and I love it. We have been talking about the markets in general and the geopolitical side of things. So if you're not too scared about that, let's get right to it. Um, I think that Michael Litt was on our show yesterday, a dear friend of mine from the Front Point, as we all know him from the Big Short, the movie. Uh, he says we're in a bull rally and a bear market. That geopolitically, things just aren't good, and I'm going to set you guys on fire right here before I let you go. But how are you feeling, Anne Marie, about the markets?
I think that he's spot on.
Okay.
What I have noticed is that because there's so many known unknowns, that traders who are actively moving in the market are really leaning on implied volatility to keep
Yes.
them inside of the ranges, except for the fact, we get a 10 sigma move in the Taiwan dollar and
Oh,
things like
Steve
that.
Flanagan, right there, Mr. Crypto.
Yeah, I meant to bring that up with you, Steve. We missed Monday. I saw that move. That's unheard of, right? I mean, that was a short covering to the 10th degree.
Yeah.
It goes to the root of what we're explaining here and how this market is just reacting instantaneously. And once it starts, it just cannot stop itself. And that's a perfect example of what happened in Taiwan.
Yeah. Algorithmic flows, certainly. And
Anne Marie, I will see you next week, Wednesday.
Yes.
I have to run, but good to see you, Steve Flanagan. Love
Great
you,
to
man.
see you.
We'll see you guys later.
Take care.
Okay, so we've been talking about FOMC. I think it's why the market's sort of muted today, I would say, quite honestly, compared to what we've seen. It's not any breakout one way or the other. It's been sort of a little bit of choppiness. Mr. Flanagan and I have been beating the drum that this Fed is well behind, and we need to stop the disparity, between what's going on over in Europe and other places with rates. How are you feeling about this, Anne Marie?
Well, as far as flows go today in this sideways mishmash, margin requirements have been raised across the board in the overnight. And
I didn't see that.
Yes. So I think that's affecting flows somewhat.
Sure.
Because if you were able to trade an ES contract with $1,100 and now all of a sudden it's 6,000, it makes a little bit of a difference. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so there's that. As far as the Fed being behind the curve, I guess they are. I don't have enough letters behind my name to say anything like
Yes, you
that.
did. You've been doing this, and you know the psychology of this market better than
Yeah.
anybody.
That's right.
And that really is it. It is a psychology event right now. And the wise traders are doing just what you just said, Howard, just a few moments ago. Stepping back, not trading as frequently, watching for the swing highs and the swing lows. It dovetails right into the way you look at charts also, Steve, right? And the big thing, I was wondering whether gold was in a blow off top or there was really something going on underneath. And so when the Taiwan dollar sort of recalibrated, I read a number of blog posts that said, hey, it looks like maybe the administration said, hey, this is, if you let that expand a little bit, it's going to help with trade negotiations. So it looks like both of us are coming to the table in some sort of relative way. There's a lot of, if we think about things superficially, we're going to get a totally different understanding of the game than if we go, all right, what if there is a significant level of gamesmanship going on? Everybody's got to look tough on the outside, and then inside, they're all sitting together trying to, golly, let's get this done so that things don't go sideways. And I feel certain that China is in a significant hot seat right now,
Absolutely.
particularly, even though general media might be saying, hey, X, Y, or Z. And, we're sitting in a space where we're going to feel some pain, folks. If somebody comes in and says, I'm turning over this apple cart, some of us are going to get squashed underneath.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't argue that, and it has been the way the markets worked, right? Is we haven't seen that come together yet moment. We start to see the wheels turn, but we haven't really seen the train start to move, so to speak. Do you think maybe the bond market and what's going on there can be the impetus that gets that to move in the U.S., that gets us to the table a little bit quicker or something? And I agree with you, and Steve Flanagan's been talking a lot and could chime in a little bit about China. We know their real estate is in absolute shambles, and, their economy has been, is on the verge of placing a deflationary era like we saw in Japan.
And they've been the big buyers of gold. So clearly a diversification in troubled times, which we're in, out of the dollar. But also, what is the reason? All the central banks, I believe the magnitude of the central bank purchases this year has been, much, much higher. So
yeah, records.
So a diversification away from the dollar. But, I'm going to leave the two of you to chat about this. I've got some things to run and do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for always.
So nice to see you, Steve.
Too, Anne-Marie.
It really is.
Yep.
Looking forward to the next time.
Okay, that sounds great. Let's do it a little longer next time. Great.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
So they left us all alone. It's just you and I, Anne-Marie. And, so FOMC, I personally think they're going to sit where they're at today. There isn't going to be a move. And I do think that it's, the markets are just waiting to see what he says today more than what happens out there. So are you looking for anything particular in what Mr. Powell has to say today or anything?
We've got I think everybody's going to be parsing through what he says afterwards, right? And that, when I opened up my charts this morning and saw what the GloX opening ranges were, I said to myself, it's a good day to break out the knitting needles. So I'm definitely hands off. I want to see how the volatility expands. Bascent is also getting ready to get back on the hill.
Yeah.
Of course, we know there's always senator grandstanding in one way or another everywhere. So you just have to sort of parse through all those things. My thought is that the administration is trying to thread a very fine hole in a needle.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a little bit tough. Do we want things to be more balanced for us? Yes, but that always requires change, and none of us really likes change. I mean, we'll adapt to it, but we like our status quo. And when status quo gets upended, everybody's got something to say about it. That's just the way it goes. So I'm not sure Powell has really he doesn't have any firepower to say, hey, I'm going to reduce rates. My suspicion is that we have stagflation ahead. My suspicion
He's
is
been calling for that for a while. I mean, Steve, for 6 months.
And I do think that is true. Now, what do I think it's going to do for traders and investors sitting on the sidelines? That's the more interesting thing. And what I notice with retail investors, when prices start running up, they go, "Oh my gosh, I got to buy this." And the first dip they see, even if it's a little bit shallow, they'll jump right in, and then, all of a sudden we've got something else going on. And so my suspicion is, since there's so many known unknowns, not even the law of unintended consequences, we don't even have a look at that yet, but the known unknowns suggest that we've got ourselves a quarter of increased volatility. That's going to see sector rotation, even more so. It's going to see new leaders coming out. And as investors and traders, who really, I suspect, our core anchor, are traders that watch us in general, they have to realize that you don't have to trade simply because you see a move. You have to trade relative to what's my end goal. And my end goal is to build my portfolio higher. If I want to do that in a region of high risk, I've got to be sure that I adjust my risk parameters. And, think about the folks that went in super long Palantir before.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or went short yesterday on the mouse.
Yeah.
So we've seen these explosive moves. The only thing I would say to those people is watch, because the first reaction has been moved, over the next few days on a lot of these, right? Like Berkshire, I
100%.
Give me a 6% dip on Berkshire any day I want to buy it.
Absolutely.
And you hit on a big one that I always just am amazed by, as not having as much experience as you guys, all of you do in the trading, is it is the one thing nobody wants to buy when it's cheap, is stocks and crypto.
Exactly.
We only want to buy it when it's expensive. I don't understand the philosophy. I've been sitting here for the last few months trying to point out stocks, like I did Disney before earnings. Value was there. Palantir on the drop yesterday. Value starts to come in. That one's a little tougher because their EP, their earnings P ratio is still so high that it worries me on Palantir. But these other ones, Ford on their drop yesterday, is Ford not going to be a good motor company? Are the tariffs not going to go away eventually? Are we not going to figure this out? And where will they be based? So, I've been one that's been, saying to people, listen, value for your long-term portfolio is coming
100%.
into light.
100%.
Don't
And that's great news about Disney having that. I don't know, was it Dubai that they said they were going to open?
And Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. And Steve even called it, and he wasn't positive on the earnings yesterday. He is, as you know, living down in Florida, and he's Mr. Disney. He goes on the cruises, he goes to all their stuff, and he's been talking just about all the positive moves they've had for 2 months. Yesterday, I put him on the spot. I said, Steve, what are we going to do? You always say buy the mouse under 100. It's under 100. It was almost below 90, I want to say. And we're going into earnings. And he said, and he was worried about that streaming stuff that hit yesterday, all the tariff talk on the, it's been a big part of his thesis. And that's what I love about Steve is he'll tell you what it is. His thesis was based upon that their streaming, it was an advantage for them and the tariffs, and that they do a lot of that stuff in Canada, and that was going to be at risk. But they just blew away everything. In general, my thing there is be careful, be wary, because it's probably not sustainable over the next 2 weeks. If you made great profit on Disney, don't be afraid to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's super hard, because if you call up your broker, your portfolio manager, and you go, hey, I want to take profits in X, Y, or Z, they'll say, well, when are you going to get back in? Because they get paid with funds under management.
Transactions. They want to know what you're going to buy. That's
exactly.
fine. I'll sell that, but what are we buying with it? Because it's not just
Exactly.
going into your cash account.
Exactly.
Without a doubt there. I have to ask too, you always have your thumbs on the crude world. What are you seeing come out of there? Because Steve's been, the war is just on everyone's mind right now, right? With India and Pakistan now. I just saw another plane just got either shot down or something in the Red Sea, a U.S. plane. That we've lost our second in a week. What are you seeing there?
Well, the sad thing is that war is contagious. And that's something that certainly is at the top of mind. The question is, what happens to markets on the way to war and then once in war? Now, once we're in war, things actually move up because everybody spends.
You need gas for those airplanes, right? We need all the battle.
Exactly.
As someone who used to have a small Boston whaler as a kid, I can't imagine what gas for the USS Enterprise is to move across the ocean.
Can you even imagine?
No, I can't. It's probably, And how big is that tank? I'm going to have to Google that later.
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
So I think maybe some of those things are nuclear, but I'm not for positive. But in any case,
some of them are, yes.
When we go back to taking a look at oil, this big run up in oil that again hit the implied volatility moves in the chains. It went up into 60 and is now, it's come off maybe a couple of bucks since that space. The question is, well, why did it move like that? We've got Iran chatter, we've got Houthi chatter, and so there's a lot of stuff rolling around there that sent it up into that range. But the fact that it couldn't hold there suggests to me that traders and folks who are really buying the stuff are saying, it's better that we take a look at prices coming in versus expanding, simply because we've got a compression on the horizon. Could it be a recession? Could it be something more than that? Could it be just a dip? That's huge. Now, the second thing is, there's been a story in the administration that has said, coming around different vines of the other, it said that, hey, listen, if we can get 55, it's going to do a lot to the inflation numbers, because it's the primary energy output. Exactly. And so, not to put on the tinfoil hat, but I do keep it in the drawer.
Yeah, I have to agree, because I was going to ask it. I thought, so that's fantastic, because I had been asking some people and I thought maybe it was the opposite, and that it's the world's answer to our tariffs. I thought it was a slap at the administration, is OPEC saying we're just going to increase production, and Putin and Maduro get together and say we're going to sign a strategic, and we'll use your oil, and we'll ship your oil, and we'll do this. And you're just seeing everybody release their oil because as we know, the U.S. is usually the first to shut down their rigs, right?
Yeah.
And it's most expensive for us.
And I think that is still a likelihood. They are going to compress the amount they put out so that they can manage their margins. They've learned once that if they go drill, baby, drill, then a bunch of them go out of business because they get too much capex, too much everything going on, too many expenses, and then they can't handle the crunch. This time around, they're saying, you know what? We're here for the longevity, which is going to be pretty good for the earnings, I think, overall for energy. I really like energy. And
we saw
so
it with CEG
dips.
being the first one that crushed it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So any savage dips you see there, I totally love. But this is a concerted effort to drive the price of oil down because it's going to be one of those drivers that helps inflation.
Yeah, because that puts Powell on the boat too, because like you said, one of the biggest things you can control with this, and I've noticed the SPR hasn't been getting refilled at these.
Yes, and it's not going to. I mean, it's got to really come in and stay there, and then they're going to do something about that. So, you know, it is something that
then they can control. If they allow it to go down, it means they got to buy the most.
Exactly.
So they can control that supply and demand tremendously. If they don't buy any now, they allow it to get down to 55, like you said, or under 55, which would kill. I mean, that would be very bad for the U.S. producers in general.
It will tighten. What I think will happen there is the cream will rise. We're going to see consolidations. We're going to see mergers. We're going to see acquisitions. And does that make some people mad where they go, hey, listen, the little guy is not going to be able to do X, Y, or Z? Oil and all its different peripheries, they move on enterprise scale. And if you can't handle enterprise scale,
they have to have that scale.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why we've allowed BP to get so big and some of these that are non-US entities into the US, because you need it. You need that largeness because, you know, it doesn't cost just a few pennies to start drilling. It is, you know, millions and millions of dollars for one well, never mind, you know, for the amount that you need to do for offshore drilling and some of these other parts. You know, the other thing that I would, you know, where I personally was hoping that the president would shift that sort of focus to is on, we have terrible refining here in the U.S.
I was just going to talk about that. Them lifting.
I feel like an expert. Look at that.
We've got to increase our refining capabilities. You know, the problem is all we pull out of the ground is light sweet.
Right.
We don't have heavy sour. And we don't have any of the heavies, which we normally get from Canada. And, you know, whether Alberta will split off and that will be the 51st state, who knows? But
that was ugly yesterday. I don't want to see another president, another leader at the White House for a while, please.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know, Mark Carney is he's entrenched, and not being political or anything, but he has a very Euro-focused mindset. He hasn't been to Canada in 20 years, comes back, and in 3 weeks, he's the new guy. And so, you know, a lot of folks say he was Trudeau's puppet master, or, you know, if you love Trudeau, I don't mean to use the word puppet master, but that was just, you know, he's very Eurocentric. And so one of the things that really would be nice to see is a little bit of the cloud clearing in terms of, can we get a deal on getting some of this heavy sour and some of the stuff? And then that gives our oil companies the opportunity to go, you know what, CapEx into refining capabilities going to really give us the updrive. And, you know, John Rockefeller said it, I don't know, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago. Wow. He said, hey, when you take a look at the oil complex, let the wildcatters do their thing. You work on distribution and refining. And so those are going to be the places where I think the real money is going to get made, and more of it potentially, because we're not.
What I'm looking for on earnings. I haven't seen anybody really mention it yet. I'm hoping to see that.
Yeah, I think they'll be very cautious, And then midstream into maybe the third and fourth quarter, they'll start readjusting guidance based on what's happening, because literally it's clear as mud, right? We
There's no
can't.
better way. That's the line of the day. The markets is clear as mud, and so is
Right.
everything that's going with it right now.
So true. So true. And
And I just
so,
want to say for our viewers again, we've been stressing it here, and I hope that you guys are listening to us. Long-term investing, great. If you're a scalper, you can make great money right now if you know how to use volatility to your advantage. If you're a swing trader, you need to be very nimble. You need to play the market in front of you. You can't play the market that we were trading 6 months ago as your guide.
yes.
I've been talking to some newbies out there that have, really upset right now because they're not having such good success. And part of it has really been that they're not selling at the right time. They've made the right moves. They've got in at the right entry. They just, thought that it would just continue to run for days like we saw,
in times
that's not
past.
the case right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The environment has changed. And, as a trader, I talk about this all the time, from us coming up for school and whatever, we study just to pass the test. We don't study to embrace the material. And one
Right.
of the most important things about trading is that you understand the material and the landscape. And when you start seeing those market structure shifts, hey, I stopped making new highs. Hey, I started making new lows. Hey, I stopped making new lows, but I can't break those interim new highs. It tells you, listen, I've got a range. There's a lot of money still sitting on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
Because they're going, hey, I'm going to see how the dust settles here. I mean, think about how much cash Berkshire has on its books. Now, they normally do have a lot of cash, but they don't have.
We were saying they could buy Disney.
Oh my gosh.
And then still have 100 million left.
So it'll be
100 billion,
interesting. It'll be interesting to see where they start dipping their toe in the water at the next.
I think that's what everybody's waiting to see, right? Is what do they do? And is it, it's an interesting one because they have so much built. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be what you normally see with under the Buffett regime where they slowly acquire something. I think this is going to be a jump in. And guess what? We just announced that Disney is, under contract and we're offering 240 billion instead of the 180 its current market cap is, and we're going to close this deal in 40 days.
I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all.
We were looking at Ford. He could pick up Ford if he wanted to right now. It's very interesting time when it comes to that. Are you, I have to ask because you do futures options, so two things. NASDAQ just announced that they have applied for the ability to do Monday and Wednesday, 0 DTEs coming to NVIDIA and some of the Mag 7. What is your feelings with that? Steve is very negative on 0 DTEs himself. I think that people that, want to day trade and scalp, they're great opportunities.
Yes. So we have sort of a double-edged sword there. We know that the NASDAQ wants to do that because that's going to drive more revenue because they have new products. Everybody is trying to put out new products over and over again to see how they can drive their own revenue. So we can see from a business perspective why they're doing it. I hope I don't say anything too controversial, but here we go.
We love controversy.
The mindset of a lot of market participants is, hey, I just watched something incredible happen from 2020 to 2021 and a half. It was an incredible awakening. Everybody at their house, Robin Hood, man, did they strike when the iron was hot. Yep. And they have, they're beating the pants off of so many.
Everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's this thought that the market is now kind of a slot machine. And I don't know if you notice, but if you watch any sporting event or anything in general, the advertisements for DraftKings, for FanDuel, there is so much of a, hey, I can't,
Gamification, I call it.
yeah,
Gamification of the stock
absolutely.
market. This brought the gamification of the stock
Everything,
market. Yeah,
everything.
I was looking at what you can do in the US now when it comes to crypto for shorting. And, I'm one of those guys that uses a VPN and does what I want. But, as advising other people and looking at stuff, Kraken has an up-down 0 DTE option on Bitcoin right now, where you literally, do you think the price is going to go up, or do you think the price is going to go down? I'm like,
Yeah.
that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That is
It is.
absolutely
It
crazy
is.
the way that gamification has come.
Yeah.
But is that going to be the future? That's what worries me a little bit, is the generation that learned to trade during COVID and saw this explosion, and and that watches social media where someone does get lucky, and it's just luck, in my opinion, on a 0 DTE, and makes X amount, and then everybody's trying it, and what you really are, you're playing, it's a lottery game versus what you're seeing.
That's exactly right.
And where I wanted to go with that question was, do you see that that's taking from the futures traders now? Is that starting, and will this margin change push people into more? That worries me, that margin change requirements. Well, I like it because I don't like much leverage in the market personally. I'm an anti-leverage person because I come from crypto where they have 100x leverage, and there should never be that. Is that going to move the needle? Because I really thought futures were the future. So I know it sounds weird, but I see so many of the new traders that are asking me more about how to trade ES minis or Bitcoin nanos or whatever it might be, versus how do I trade NVIDIA or how do I trade Bitcoin anymore?
Yeah. So I do believe that futures are on the rise. Margins are going to come in when things settle down. Right. For those of us that are very good at understanding how these markets work when they're option spaces,
when they're healthy.
Exactly. I could go in if they say, hey, listen, we're going to have Monday, Wednesday, Friday or Monday, Wednesday added to the NVIDIA contracts. I'm like, ooh, more options to sell, because I am an option seller.
Right.
Now, I fear that there is a mindset in culture that says, I'm locked into this, inflation's driving me over a hill. I can't make more money in what it is that I do. I can't work from home much anymore because things are doing that. So I'm just going to hit the lottery, either playing the options, playing the stock market, or buying something on FanDuel or DraftKings or whomever. And that's probably going to send quite a few people to ruin. I mean, the pyramid isn't pointy at the top because everybody makes money.
Nope.
And so the overarching gives me trouble, but the more instruments there are, the more opportunities to win there are. You just have to really, really focus down on risk. So for me, I love the 0 DTEs.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Me too.
Now, why do I love them? Because I sell them most of the time. Yeah. And selling is going to give me more statistical edge. And I just try to trade the statistics. So although I see futures continuing to rise, I know a lot of people that said, hey, listen, I started in stocks, I went to options, and now I'm in the futures market. It's sort of like options are the gateway drug.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As it were.
Well,
so,
and we know that they're trying, a lot of them are trying to avoid PDT, with that.
100%.
If not all of them.
Yes.
And again, for our viewers that don't know, unless you have $25,000 in your account, you are limited to what you can do on a daily basis, trading stocks and options. With futures and crypto, there is not that limitation, and you're able to go in and out and do what you want there. So that, it's a big component of it, right?
Yeah. And I suspect it's the one of the primary drivers.
Yeah. Steve and I argue on this. I think it's the stupidest rule patent daily trading.
Same.
Yeah, it's the stupidest rule that's out there. Give people a test then, because just because you have money doesn't mean you know how to hold it. Ask Mr. Madoff and some of these other people.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's not the way we should decide things. And it doesn't allow for equality. I do agree with accredited investors. I do think that if you want to go that risky and you're going to try to get, because people don't understand, the people that put money into OpenAI haven't seen a cent yet, and they won't see a cent for a long time.
Yes.
And that's a different story that people don't understand. Early seed investment and things like that, I do think there needs to be controls and things in place there, because too many people don't understand the time horizon and how only 1 of 50 works for Anderson Horowitz, not 1 out of 2. But that's that world. But that PDT makes no sense to me.
True,
it never did.
I have to tell you this. I talked to a Merrill guy about 15 years ago about that. I said, "What is the story with that?" You know what his answer was?
What?
We're trying to save people from themselves.
Honest
to goodness.
You lock them into something, and you don't give them the ability to make
Exactly.
money. The stock market's the great equalizer. The stock market's supposed to provide us that opportunity that isn't out there for other people.
And again, if you listen, and this is also very hard, so I apologize for that. Listen, if you have money and you have X amount and you go, I'm going to put it in the stock market. If you don't have the sensibilities to get yourself some education and build a knowledge framework for what you're doing, well, that's when money moves.
Shame on you. Shame on
you. Exactly. That's when money moves from the hands of the uninformed to the informed. Right. So make yourself informed.
And all you need to do is get Quasar Markets and follow us every day.
There you go.
Follow Anne-Marie at the Trading Book. And, there's so many opportunities out there. And that is a great point, because there are so many people flying blind. And it's one of the disservices that I think CNBC and some of these other channels do. Is that they don't provide education, they won't come out and say to you that, hey, traders, be wary today. They get out there and they give you the headline and they push people into things. And they don't, and then we also point out that so many of the stories that are covered by Main Street media are pushed because of a narrative. Someone like you, and it's not you, but in the cases, when a guest comes on CNBC, they usually have their positions already.
Exactly.
So they're going to speak about what is going to push their positions into the best position that it can be. So if I own Disney today, I'm going to tell you they killed earnings and you need to be in it and you need to be long. And if you missed it, you need to get in it today. And here's the 30 reasons why. Whereas if I was short Disney, I'm going to say to you, yeah, I know they beat earnings, but keep in mind the following things are about to happen.
Exactly.
And that's where you see it. And Steve always has a great line. When it's time to sell your gold? When you see the ad to buy gold on CNBC.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And he's right? That's when they come out. And, crypto can be the same way. It's going to be when the runs are. And that's when it's going to come out, because that's when Robinhood and Coinbase are going to get the best bang for their buck. When fear and greed's at 4 and nobody wants to trade crypto, don't put an ad on TV because you just wasted your money. When fear and greed's at 80 and everybody's FOMOing in is when you want to try to get them to come with you.
Exactly.
And, we call it selling their bags, right? They're selling their bags to you. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie, I don't want to keep you too long. I've manipulated more of your time than I was supposed to, so I really do apologize for that. But you bring so much insight, and I love talking to you about it.
Same.
Any last comments for us you have going into this,
so
crazy days?
The largest spikes we'll see intraday, if you're trading, are going to happen right after the news hits, and then when Chair Powell takes the podium. And so just set an time alert, and just make sure that you are prepared and you've got your risk managed for the day, because risk management today means that you can trade tomorrow.
I love it. We're going to leave on that note. Risk management today means you can trade tomorrow. I love that. I'm writing that down. I'm stealing that from you, Anne-Marie.
Take it.
I appreciate it. Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining us. And
always my pleasure.
Fantastic week.
You too. Thanks so much, Howard.
Thanks
See
so
you
much,
soon.
Quasar Markets Live. We will be back at 12 with Agnieszka Wood talking trading mindset moments. And then I got Charlie Moon in from Prosper Trading, going to talk some trader talk, see what Charlie has going on before the FOMC. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in a few hours.